Look, if you're looking to grow a business, especially a profitable business, then there's a handful of major metrics that you need to keep an eye on. There's a lot of things you need to keep an eye on. There's so many metrics to look at that it's hard to tell the ones that matter the actual most. Well, these are the sales metrics that matter the most. I mean, if you're not measuring these in your organization, you're going to have problems. You're not going to know why. You might see sales drop and it be unexpected. You might not be profitable like you want to be profitable or as profitable as you like to be. Okay, you're basically reacting, not actually being proactive because you don't really know what's about to happen, what's going on. And if sales do drop, you don't know what's causing it. But we're going to fix all of that right now because if you know these 5 core metrics, we're going to break them down and look at not really even just 5 metrics, 5 areas of metrics that you need to keep an eye on. And we're going to tell you today, here's exactly the things that you really want to keep an eye on to be able to basically bring in the most money into the company and keep it through profit. So we got a lot to cover. Here's the 5 sales metrics that matter most. Let's start with number 1. Number 1 is revenue metrics, right? Anything related to revenue. So there's a couple things we want to measure here. First of all, we want to measure overall revenue coming into the company. Now remember, revenue is money coming in. So you might actually have a false number of sales. So for example, if you are letting your customers pay you on terms, pay you over time, then you might be able to have an inflated number that says, hey, they enrolled at $3,000, but they really only paid me $300 when they enrolled. So don't get caught up in that. So many entrepreneurs are so obsessed with top end that they're actually looking at, saying, hey, here's how much we made in sales, even though the person didn't pay that, they're just making payments on that amount. Don't get caught in that. We want to look at real revenue, what real money came in the door. Now, we also want to look at things called monthly recurring revenue or MRR. You'll hear this a lot. An MRR, an annual revenue, annual recurring revenue, ARR, these are really big, especially for subscription businesses. So if you have subscriptions coming in, if you have payments coming in consistently where people are enrolling at an amount and they're paying that amount over time, you want to keep an eye on this because these are how outside investors are actually evaluating your business. And by the way, if you're just coming in, give me a shout out. Tell me your company name. I'm going to give you a shout out right here on the live stream. So revenue metrics, we want to actually focus on total revenue. We want to look at monthly recurring revenue. We want to look at annual recurring revenue. And this will give us an idea of like what we're doing, how the overall health of the business, because we're not just looking at revenue, we're looking at what's coming in annually, what's coming in monthly as well. And then we also want to look at our average deal size, okay? How big are the orders that are coming in? And what this helps us do is it helps us kind of predict trends of what's going on. Look, during COVID, a lot of us were busier because all this money was poured into small business. Okay, then after COVID, a lot of us saw a pretty significant drop. Well, by knowing your average deal size, that's going to help you. If you're selling something for $2,000 and you're letting people pay $500 a month to you, well, if all of a sudden people can't pay $500 and you tell your sales team to let it go down to $400 or $300 and you start seeing a lot of $400 a month come in, $300 a month come in, then those are clear signs that your audience, your avatar is having a harder time affording what you have. So this is really a key metric. By looking at the average deal size, or the average size of transaction or sale of what you're collecting on front end, it's going to tell you kind of where people are right now. Are they paying all of your $2,000 product up front? Are they breaking it down into $500 payments? Are they able to make the payments that you have set of like $500? Are they not able to do that? Are they only able to afford $100 or $200 or $300? This is going to give you an idea of what's happening with your avatar and their ability to ultimately be able to afford what you have. And by the way, Cartrell is in the house, ready to rock LLC in Memphis. Thank you very much for coming in and saying hey. Okay, so the next thing is we looked at revenue metrics, right? We looked at overall revenue. We looked at monthly recurring revenue. We looked at annual recurring revenue. And then we've also just simply looked at deal size. How big are the transactions coming in on the front end? Now, that brings me to metric number 2, which are basically conversion metrics. And what we're looking at here is our lead to customer conversion, right? This is basically telling us and measures how well leads are turning into paying customers. So again, a lot of things we can figure out here. We can figure out if the leads coming in on the front end are the right leads that can actually buy our product. Meaning that when we see a drop here, when we see lower conversion of leads to customers, well, that tells us that people are either struggling financially to potentially afford what we have ultimately. And then that means we might be bringing in the wrong customer, the wrong type of lead to come in the front door. And by the way, I see this all the time with entrepreneurs. Okay, I talk to people a lot about launching Facebook ads, launching Google ads, and then launching. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so rich. I'm bringing in leads at $1, $2, $3, $4, or $5, super cheap leads. But what I always warn people is, look, you got to be careful because places like Facebook are really good at getting you cheaper leads, especially when you first launch with them. But those leads are not usually somebody that can buy like high ticket items. And then again, months they will pass down the road and I'll follow up and say, how's it going with those $5 leads? And they'll say, we're having a really hard time converting them. I'm like, yeah, that's the thing. Facebook goats you in and brings you in thinking that you're going to get $5 leads. But then the reality is these people can't buy what you have. And you're only going to know that if you're looking at a lead to customer conversion metric or rate of some kind, because that will tell you how well those leads coming in are converting to your actual customers. The next is we want to look at our sales cycle. How long is our sales cycle? So Credit Suite, we have a higher ticket item, right? Our items go from $2,000 to $8,000. So because of that, what happens is our sales cycle is a little bit longer. It could be 60 or 90 days on average. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people come in and buy right away. But if we look at the average, we have people that don't enroll for years after they're getting our emails. So if we look at the average, we say a sales cycle length that is actually 2 months or 3 months. You need to know this. If I'm going to spend X on Facebook ads today, how many months is it going to take me to get back my money? Well, I only know that if I have an idea of my sales cycle. The other reason this is important is if you have a 90-day sales cycle, that means what you're doing right now isn't even going to have an impact for 3 months. So like this makes it even more important for you to keep an eye on predictive metrics, predictive things that will predict what's going to happen. Because if you wait till your sales are down and then you start making adjustments, it's going to take you 3 months to be able to make up and get back to revenue where it was because of those adjustments you made. So the longer sales cycle you have, the harder it is to make adjustments right now to be able to get your sales up next month, for example. So you need to know, how long does it take you on average to convert a customer? And you have to really keep that front of mind because changes you're making today are going to have an impact that many weeks, that many months down the road. So you need to make sure that you are really keeping an eye on predicting what will happen so you can react or be proactive before you're in a reactive mode where you make changes and it takes you months of lost sales to be able to get sales back up. Win rate. Okay, so the percentage of closed deals compared to basically total opportunities. So how many opportunities did you get? These aren't leads. Okay, leads coming into my funnel does not mean that's how many leads are going to my sales team. So I want to know that how many leads are coming in, but how many leads are going to my actual sales team. And from that, what is my percentage of closed deals? How many of those leads going to sales actually convert? Okay, and again, 20% is a normal average. So if they're talking to those people, what is the actual conversion rate? So let me give you an example. We do a lot of our selling on appointments. So we know about, on average, that 50% of appointments scheduled will show up and 20% of those will close. Well, that's really important metrics to be able to know. I know that if I schedule 100 appointments, that only 50 of those are going to show up. And I know 20% of those 50 will close, which is 10 deals. So now that I know those metrics, I can focus on getting more appointments scheduled. The more appointments scheduled, the more output, the more money comes out the back end. But you only know that if you know your win rate, right? What percentage of leads go to your sales are actually converting? What are those conversion metrics? So of these 5 core areas we've looked at, number 1 is revenue metrics, okay? Where are we? What's our annual recurring? What's our monthly recurring? What's our total revenue? This is a lagging indicator. We cannot control it. Okay, once we're looking at those numbers, that's looking at what already took place in the past. I can't make changes now to affect that. Then we look at conversion metrics, and conversion metrics are really good leading indicators. It tells us what's going to happen in the future. It helps us predict what's going to happen because now I can see how many leads come in are converting to customers. How long does it take them to convert? How many leads go to sales are actually being sold? And these things will give me a good idea of what may happen because when I see my leads down, or I see my lead to conversion reducing where I have less people converting to customers or less leads going to sales converting to actual sold clients, then what happens is then I can predict I've got a rough road ahead. Guys, I can't tell you the importance of this. Let me try to rephrase this. So many of us entrepreneurs are in reactive mode. Okay. What I mean by that is we come in and we had a slow month this month, or we're having a slow month the last month. And then we get to the end of the month. We're like, okay, hopefully it's going to get better. Hopefully it's going to get better. And then it doesn't get better. And then we're like, oh crap. Like we lost a lot of money that month or sales were really down. Right. And then we're trying to figure out what's going on. We're just scurrying, trying to figure out how to fix it. We never want to be in that state. What we want to know is we want to accurately predict what's going to happen. We want to have projections where we have a pretty good idea what's going to happen. And we have clear metrics in place to know if those things are not going to happen so we can make adjustments now so we're not reacting. Oh my God, we have to have a big sale. We got to run a big promo. We got to have major discounts just to save ourselves. You don't want to be in that place. So conversion metrics help us to get an idea of what is going to come because we're seeing how many of these leads are basically converting to sales. Number 3, pipeline metrics. So one of the things here is sales qualified leads. And again, this is a very powerful leading indicator. And by the way, Carol, hello. Thanks for coming in from Houston. And what is up, Mike South? I didn't even see you in there in the chat, but somebody gave you a shout out. So thanks for coming in. Thanks everybody for saying hi. Give me your company name and I'll give you a shout out right here on the live stream. Then thousands of people see this live and in replay and you get like all kinds of free exposure to your business. I can't do any better than that, right? So number 3 is pipeline metrics. So we're going to look at sales qualified leads. Here's what I mean. When a lead comes in to marketing, whatever you do, Facebook, Google, network marketing events, referrals, however you're getting a lead in the door, that is not a qualified lead for sales. It must meet certain criteria for it to be a qualified lead. Meaning for your sales team to say, okay, we will work this lead works for us, it should meet certain criteria, okay? So I'll give you an example. At Credit Suite, a sales qualified lead is somebody that raises their hand and says that they want what we have, right? So this isn't somebody that we just go get a turn down from a lender and then we take the lender turn downs and we send them to sales and say, here you go, here's a bunch of sales qualified leads. Those aren't qualified. The person didn't raise their hand and say that they want to know more about us and what we do. The other thing is a sales qualified lead is somebody that actually can come in and has the ability to buy our product. Okay, so they're not somebody that's just launching a business that doesn't have money. That's somebody that's not going to qualify to buy a $2,000 product, for example, or pay $500 a month. So you should determine what a sales qualified lead is. The best way I found to do this is if you are not doing the selling and somebody else is, talk to that salesperson or sales team. Our SQL, what determines a sales qualified lead, was our sales team saying, this is what we classify as a qualified lead. They can buy, and they actually have an interest in buying, and they're raising their hand saying that they want what we have. If it meets that criteria, it's a sales qualified lead. If it doesn't, then we've got to do more work to get the person to that state. So I might bring in a lender turndown. Lenders might give me their turndowns. I can't just send those to sales because they're not qualified to go to sales. I got to put them through some emails and start warming that person up, introducing them to us, giving them case studies, testimonials, helping them get wins, helping them understand, hey, this is what we do. This is how we can help you. Do you want to talk to us? Now, when they say, yeah, I want to talk, I'm scheduling an appointment, I'm taking this action. Now it becomes a sales qualified lead. Now they've raised their hand. Now they've shown interest in what we have. So you should determine what an SQL or sales qualified lead is, and then that's a good leading indicator. How many of those are coming into your sales team this month, depending on your sales cycle, could determine what happens next month. So if your SQLs are way down this month, guess what? March is going to suck for you. You need to know that. And what you need to be doing right now in the first week of February is you need to be figuring out how to get more leads, more qualified leads to sales. So let me give you an example of this. Let's say I bring in 1,000 leads in February or January, 1,000 leads, and my sales qualified leads are 300. And then I get into February, and then I'm like, okay, 1,000 leads came in, my lead count stayed the same, but my SQLs dropped to 150. Well, if I'm seeing that trend occur, then what I want to do is I want to be reaching out to leads in my database and scheduling more appointments. I want to be able to get more leads into sales to make sure that I don't see a drop off next month. If you're not doing this proactively, you're going to have a bad month next month and go, what happened? What do I do? Oh my gosh, my SQLs were down in February. I had less leads to my sales team. What do I do now? Now I got to get more leads to my sales team. If you start waiting until the middle of March to get more leads to sales, you're not even going to see the impact of that until May. Think about that. You've already blown most of half of your year just because one thing happened and you were reacting, not being proactive. This is why it's important. Okay, opportunity to close ratio, another pipeline metric, okay? How many opportunities came in? And again, what is our closing percentage of those opportunities? This helps us with forecasting what may happen in the future, what we think the revenue will be. What is your churn rate? What is the rate of customers that are supposed to pay you money that are quitting, that are not paying you money? If you're letting somebody pay you over time, you're selling a $2,000 product and letting them pay $500 over 4 months, for example. Well, if you're seeing that they're quitting at a high ratio and they're only paying one payment or two payments, you got a high churn rate. You got to fix that. We just did a training the other week about, hey, why retention is so important. Retention, 5% increase in retention can almost double your profits. So the key here is that we really need to make sure that we are retaining customers. So if we have a high turnover, a high churn rate, people are coming in, but they're quitting and they're dropping out, well, then that's a huge problem, because that's even worse than us losing new sales and seeing a reduction of sales. So again, you got to know your churn rate. How long are these people coming in? Now that brings us to number 4. So far we've talked about revenue metrics. We've talked about conversion metrics. We've talked about pipeline metrics. And now it brings us to number 4, which are activity metrics. And this is things like calls, emails, meetings per your rep. How many do you have? Okay, these are phenomenal leading indicators telling you what's going to happen. So I met with my sales manager today and I said, hey, I've got some questions for you. What is our call volume last month? Okay, what is our call volume this month? How much time are we spending on the phone right now? How many leads are coming in? How many appointments do you have? Because these things tell me what is going to happen for the rest of the month and next month. And if it's not where we want it to be, we want to be able to make some adjustments to be able to correct that. So again, how many calls is your team making? How much time are they spending on the phone? How many emails are being sent from your CRM or system? How many meetings or appointments do you have scheduled? Okay, where are you trending? You should be looking at trending. If I look at the last 90 days and I see a big drop last month, this month's going to suck. If I'm starting to see low numbers this month, I don't want to wait till the end of the month to make corrections. I want to make corrections now. I'm going to say, hey, looks like my appointments are down. It looks like my call volume is down. That means sales means more leads. Let's do a promo to promote this, whatever this offer is, to get them more leads. Now we do a promo, we spike the amount of leads that come in, and then we know that we're back on track to where we should be. And by the way, this has happened the last 2 weeks here. We started to see appointments really on a decline. So we said, hey, we got a problem. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We sent out an email, and the email basically promoted new appointments. We ran ads, we did an email, and that doubled the amount of appointments we bring in a week. We brought it in a day, and that's what we wanted. Then we corrected it. Now we're like, okay, now we're on track with appointments even higher than where they normally are in a month. That is why you want to look at these metrics and make corrections. Otherwise, you're just constantly reacting. Oh, sales are down. What do I do? Oh my gosh, this is what's going on. I got to fix it. I just lost 2 months worth of revenue while I tried to figure out what the problem was and correct it. These leading indicators help you know there's going to be an issue and correct it. Look, if you're doing this right, your revenue is stable. It rarely ever just drops. Okay, you might have spikes because you're doing new things, but you're not going to see it drop because you're seeing early signs that it may drop and taking corrective action so they never do drop. If you are seeing unpredictable sales are up, sales are down, and you don't know what's going on from month to month, you're just not looking at enough of these predictive metrics, which is why it's so important. And that brings me to number 4, still activity. Response time to leads. How long is it taking your sales team to get to leads? So this is a metric that we use to determine if we need more sales reps or not. So when I'm going in, hey, we got a sales problem, sales are down, these are the kind of questions I'm asking. How long is it getting our sales rep to actually get to the lead that they are assigned? How long is it taking? If a sales rep's not even getting to a lead for 24 hours, you got a freaking problem. Your sales rep either sucks or they're overwhelmed and cannot get to the volume of leads that they have. That means you need to hire more sales reps, right? That's how we make the decision. When should you hire more people? Well, this is a good metric on the sales side, okay? What is the response time to lead? If my response time to a lead in Credit Suite becomes more than 2 hours, we need to look at this a little bit more. We might need more sales reps. If our sales time to get to a lead goes over a day, oh, we're hiring. And we're going to tell our sales reps, you are not getting to your leads in time. It's taking you a day to get to them. That is a clear sign we need more salespeople. That means we're going to have more salespeople to split these leads up. So if the problem is that you're just being lazy, you want to correct it right away, because otherwise we're going to hire somebody else to take part of those leads you can't get to. Or if it's not a fluke and you're just that's just the way it is, that you're not able to get to the leads, well, then we need more salespeople. So response time to leads is a really good indicator that you need more sales team members, because if they are not getting the leads fast enough, then you need somebody else. If they're getting the leads super quick, then you probably need to be able to add more leads into the mix. So again, this gives you a pretty good indicator of whether or not you're not making sales because you're not getting enough leads, or because you have too many leads and your sales team can't get to the leads they have. And that's what's interesting. If you don't know these metrics, you're going to say sales are down. I need more leads. But if you get more leads in the door and the real problem is your sales reps can't get to the leads they already had, well, then you just inundated them with more leads and created a whole other problem. But if you're going, okay, I'm not making sales, my lead flow is consistent, my conversion, everything is consistent, my time on the phone is consistent, everything is good. But wait a second, my sales reps can't get to a lead for a day. Well, then you need more sales reps. And all of a sudden you hire one more sales rep, you see sales go up. But if you hire that sales rep prematurely and you didn't do this, well, then you have a sales rep and not enough leads to be able to give them. That's why this metric's important. That brings me to number 5, customer retention and satisfaction. So first of all, you should be measuring the lifetime value of your customer. How much is a customer truly worth? And here's why this is vital. Because if you know how much a customer is actually worth to your organization, you know how much you can spend to get that customer. Okay, that's it. Cost of acquisition is based on what the lifetime value of the customer is. Meaning that I got no problem spending $1,000 to get a client if I'm making $5,000 on that client through their lifetime, especially if I make that $1,000 back in a pretty short period of time, right? But $1,000 to get a customer seems like a pretty high number. But it's not if I'm selling $5,000 worth of stuff to them through their lifetime. So you need to know how much the lifetime value of your customer is in order to be able to figure out how much you should spend to get a customer. And that lifetime value is really based on how much money the customer brings into their lifetime. That's what you're looking at. All of your customers, what's the average amount of money that customer is paying through their lifetime? That's your lifetime value. You should also know what's known as a CAC or a CAC, a customer acquisition cost or a cost of acquisition. So we need to know a customer acquisition cost. How much does it take us money-wise to actually get a customer? We have to know that because now we need to know how much are we spending to get a customer and how much is that customer worth? Okay. Otherwise, we might have a math problem. We might come in and say, man, we're killing it on front-end revenue. Like we're bringing in all kinds of sales, but I'm not profitable. I don't understand why. Well, these two numbers are off. The lifetime value of that customer is not high enough to cover the cost of acquiring the customer. Maybe you're spending $1,000 to acquire the customer, but the customer's only really making you $1,200 in revenue. That's a freaking problem because that $1,200 is not enough to cover all the cost for bringing the customer in, managing the customer, everything else, okay? So again, you've got to know that lifetime value. How much is the customer worth? How much is the cost to acquire the customer? And if you see that ratio off where you're like, wow, I'm not making very much on my customer through the lifetime considering what I pay to get them, well, then you really want to consider bolt-on revenue. You really want to consider offering more things than what you have. So for example, Credit Suite, we are the leader in helping people offer business credit financing as a service. So it makes a lot of sense for business owners because if you're selling B2B, if you're a business selling to other businesses, well, those businesses need money. So if you help them buy whatever it is you're selling, accounting or credit repair or whatever it may be, well, then if you say to them, hey, you own a business, you want to own a business, they're a business owner, do you need money? And they say yes. Well, just by offering business credit and financing, and from our partners, they make an extra $2,000 per sale. So that exponentially increases the lifetime value. So for example, using credit repair example, okay, we have credit repair companies that come in, they're only making $700 for the lifetime value of a customer. Customer pays them $99 a month for 7 or 8 months. They're only making $700. That's all they make. But if they come in and offer them business credit, then they make another $3,000 in revenue on that sale. So imagine what that does. I mean, that quadruples plus the amount of money they're bringing in. Their lifetime value went from $700 to $3,700. So now they can pay a lot more money to acquire a customer because their lifetime value went up. And it wasn't hard for them to do. All they did was bolt on an additional revenue stream. And this example, it's offering business credit and financing as a service. And what that did was that exponentially increased the lifetime value. And then that created this massive gap between their cost of acquisition and what the customer's actually worth. Think about that. If you're spending $500 to get a credit repair customer and you're only getting $700 in revenue, man, you're not making any money. You might be bringing a lot of revenue in, but you're not profitable. And that's why you're not making money. But then all of a sudden you add a $3,000 business credit product, and on average now your customer shoots up to $3,700 and you're still spending $500 to get them. Now you've got massive margin, and now you're going to see that all come down to profits. So if you have the lifetime value isn't high enough to make you profitable from your cost of acquisition, well, then you need to consider raising prices. You need to also consider bolt-on revenue. What else can your customer need that you can offer them to increase their lifetime value? And the other thing is net promoter score, NPS scores. This is just basically measuring customer satisfaction, like sending out surveys and asking, how happy are you on a scale of 1 to 5, for example? Like how what could we do to make you happier? Do these NPS scores to get an idea of how happy your customers are anywhere along the line. Okay, so again, how do we improve these? Well, we invest in automation and CRM tools. You should have something to actually look at metrics. Okay, it doesn't matter what it is. We used to use Infusionsoft, and Graphly was like the super cheap monthly cost we paid to get all these metrics from Infusionsoft, right? We use HubSpot now. HubSpot has all of our metrics built in. There's Domo. There's all kinds of cheap and very expensive softwares that you can use to be able to monitor your metrics. If you're using Go High Level as a CRM or HubSpot or a lot of the others, they actually have metrics built in. But you need to be able to start looking at this, go back and replay this and say, hey, here's the core metrics I need to measure. How can I measure them? And have them on dashboards so you're actually looking at it. I personally like to look at the entire lifetime of a customer in one board. So my main board I look at says, okay, how many leads are coming in? How many of those become sales qualified leads? How many appointments do we have? How many, what's our closing percentage? How long are we retaining a customer? What is our lifetime value? It shows me the lifetime of what's going on. So I can say, okay, leads are down. We got to make up for that. Appointments are down. We got to make up for that. So again, these metrics on a board are really going to help you make better decisions. You also should be enhancing sales training. Okay, and you should have you or a sales manager that's actually monitoring the metrics. What is your time on phone? How many calls are being made? What is your closing percentage? So our sales manager has a virtual assistant that gets all those metrics for us. In the beginning, our sales manager was doing it all and wasting too much time. We're like, let's give you a VA that can help you get those metrics so you don't waste time but have all the metrics available. Now he can come in every day and look at the core metrics and make decisions without spending time digging all those metrics out. Refine your sales process. Your sales should be broken down into a process of what happens, like 4 or 5 stages of what happens during a sales process. You're going to qualify a lead. Then you're going to actually come in and present to the customer, right? Or you're going to qualify a lead. You're going to build rapport. You're going to present to the customer. You're going to move to a closing stage, whatever your stages are going to be. You should have a redefined or a refined sales process so then you can monitor every step of the way of what's happening there. How many leads come to you that are not qualified versus qualified? How many are you actually presenting to versus ones you are? How many are you closing versus ones you are? And if you want to take one extra level step, then what you want to do is you want to have some automation, some emails that go out in every one of those stages. Look, we do a really bad job of talking about ourselves through email. We just want to give value. We want to help. We want to help the customer get the result. We just give. But when they get into a sales process with the sales team, we start to kind of convert and talk more about ourselves. That's when we come in, and if we've presented to you, now you're going to start to see case studies from us. You're going to start to see testimonials. We're going to start to talk to you about our 5-star, review on Trustpilot. We start to talk more about us to give ourselves more credibility in your mind because we know you're making a buying decision. This is called top, middle, bottom of funnel. And the top of funnel, you're just trying to get leads in. But as they get middle of funnel, they're starting to become familiar with you. They know they have a problem. They're really starting to think of you as a solution. Then they get to a salesperson, and now they're making a buying decision. And when they get to that bottom of funnel where they're ready to buy, man, we're hitting them with ads. We start doing more ads to them, not less ads to them. Because now what happens with ads is we want them to see us everywhere. We want to be front of mind where they're like, man, this credit suite must be big because they're everywhere, right? So we start running ads, all these retargeting ads for them everywhere. We start running ads and sending them emails with testimonials, with case studies, with actual results. So we want to start getting in their head as they're making that buying decision. Hey, look, we're 5-star rated. Look here's a webinar we did with Dun & Bradstreet, credibility. Hey, here's us on ABC News talking about your business credit score. This can help you, right? And it's not just to teach you about a business credit score, it's to give you credibility. Like, oh my gosh, these guys are on ABC News. So again, now we start focusing on those things that actually get people to buy. So having a sales process and then some automation that takes place in every part of those sales processes can really help you. And then you want to improve your customer retention strategies. Remember, 5% retention can double your profit. So most entrepreneurs are so obsessed with getting new leads in the door, they're not focused on what matters most. And what matters most is improving retention. It's getting more of those people to actually pay through, right? So you want to make sure that you're focusing on retention, customer experience. Read every book you can on retention. Take actual action on the things that you actually learn. Create an experience. Make sure you overcome buyer remorse. Create a community. Create something they want to be part of. Because again, the more you can increase that retention, the more you increase your lifetime value, the more you can spend to get a customer, and most importantly, the more profits you actually have. So there you have it, 5 core areas. Revenue metrics. We need to look at conversion metrics. We need to be looking at pipeline metrics. We need to be looking at activity metrics. We need to be looking at customer retention and satisfaction. If you've done these things, you focus on these 5 core areas, and now you're making preemptive decisions. You're looking at what may happen, predicting what may happen, and taking actions based on that, not just constantly reacting on, oh my gosh, sales fell. What do we do? So hopefully this helps you. If you missed any part of this, go back to Facebook, go back to LinkedIn, go back to YouTube, wherever you're watching it, and watch it in its entirety. And if you got value from the training, make sure you hit the like button, smash the like button. Make sure you also subscribe so you can get notified when we do our future trainings. Look, all of our trainings are on 2 core areas: helping you grow a business and helping you get the money to do it. And most of what we talk about, 80%, is all about helping you get the money that you need to grow and thrive. And then the other 20%, we're saying, okay, if you're getting the money, now here's what you need to do to make more sales, get more customers in the door, basically increase your profits. So make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure that you keep an eye out for our next training. We talk about more cool ways to be able to get the money you need and to be able to grow your business.